One of our favourite moments during the Beijing Olympics this year was Canada creating history, winning their very first ski jumping medal in the history of the Olympics. Not only was it Canada's first ever ski jumping medal, it was the first time North America had won a ski jumping medal since 1924. We were on air when it was happening, and we proverbially lost our shit because one half of that team were two former guests on this show. And we are so excited today to welcome one of our former guests back onto the show and a new guest to the show who were part of that mixed team that won Canada's first ever ski jumping medal in Beijing. First of all, welcoming back to the show the very first ski jumper we ever had on Off The Podium, and she went on to win a freaking medal. So I'm just saying, we did it. Thanks, you're welcome. Ale Loutitt is back. Ale, first of all, welcome back to Off The Podium. It's a pleasure to welcome you here on the show again.
Thank you for having me. I always love being on.
And I should say, number one listener to Off The Podium as well. I will say our only listener. So that also usually helps. And also on the show, another member of that team for the very first time here on Off The Podium, another member of that team that won a bronze medal in Beijing, the one, the only Mr. Matthew Soukup. Did I say it correctly?
Soukup works, but
Soukup.
Thank you for having me.
Geez, I nearly got it there. Yeah.
Nah, it's a weird last name, so I'm used to it.
I was going to say, with Ali last time, I think I practiced for about half an hour before we went on air, didn't I, with your last name? Whereas this time around, I'm just like, fuck it, I'm going to get this correct. So
you're like, I'll get it on air. It's okay.
Yeah, and now that confidence, the confidence just kind of blew that way. But congratulations, first of all, to you both. I mean, at the time of recording this, it's been, 3 months since Beijing, which is crazy. I want to start off with you, Ali, because, again, our first ever ski jumper, you went on to win a medal. Has it sunk in yet that you can sit here and say that not only you're an Olympian, but you're a freaking Olympic medalist?
Yeah, it's kind of hard to explain. Like, it still doesn't feel completely real, but it is real. Like, I know it's real. It's just unbelievable, especially because it was so unexpected for us. But I think that's part of the reason why it was so amazing is because none of us were really expecting it to happen then. And when it did, it just made all those emotions that you'd feel winning an Olympic medal, regardless, so much more intense. And the fact that we did it as a team, too, is even better. Like, because you're not only having this moment internally, you're sharing it with, like, your whole team and your friends.
And who would be, of the four of you, the most recent addition to the team? I mean, is it you, Ali, or Matt? How long have you been there prior to Ali, or is it Abby? Who is it?
So I'm the youngest. I joined the national team this July. So less than a year out from winning an Olympic medal, I joined the Canadian national team and started competing in World Cups.
And Matt, I mean, when you were coming into these Olympics, was the team event something that you were excited for, getting ready for? I mean, I would guess that you've probably had a little bit more time to prepare just for the individual events.
Yeah, so I was actually most looking forward to the mixed team event because I knew that was the one that we had the best chance at, like in terms of placing. And I just remember during the event, we were really happy to be just, competitive and in the competition, fighting for places and making second round. Like even before the medal, we were jumping up and down, hugging because we were in fifth going into the second round, and we're like, "This is so crazy." And or was it fourth? I'm not sure.
Fourth after Mac jumped.
Yeah, fourth. So it was. We were already really happy before everything went down.
I'd love to just quickly touch, Matt, just while we're talking about, we're here to talk about ski jumping, Ben. I believe these are two athletes who compete in ski jumping. Good way of putting that. But yourself getting into the sport, we obviously covered this with Ali when we had her on a couple of months ago. But just a brief, summary of how you got into ski jumping, which ultimately led to you going to an Olympics and winning an Olympic medal.
Sure. So, from a young age, my parents got me into downhill skiing. So I was started when I was 4, just, my parents kind of corralling me down the hill. And then when I think I was about 8 or 9 years old, at this Olympic Park, Canada Olympic Park in Calgary, is about 5 minutes away from where I grew up. and they have this multi-sport program for kids during the summer. And my parents put me in it, and I got to try like so many different sports. I got to try luge. I got to try mountain biking, cross-country skiing, biathlon, and as well as ski jumping. And I was one of those kids that was always like trying to throw themselves off things, trying to go fast, trying to jump far. And so, ski jumping was just kind of natural, even though the jump was quite small back then. I still had a blast, made some good friends, and decided to keep with it.
I love this camp. This camp has just come up a few times now, I think. But the one question I quickly got to ask is when you would do your downhill, did you ever have your dad chasing after you, yelling at you to do pizza and everything? Because people go back and listen to our great chat we did with Alec, and she's shown me that video since. So I don't know if this is just a Canadian thing where you got your parents skiing after you, yelling at you for not listening to them.
Yeah, it was something like that. I mean, I'm sure my parents could tell you better than I can remember, but I think they were chasing after me.
Great video, by the way, Ali. I appreciate we did see that eventually. So,
amazing.
Oh yeah, I was like to my parents, it's like, yeah, watching this video, you probably never thought, yeah, that's going to be an Olympic medalist in skiing sports. 100%. It's like, yeah, no, not a chance.
The most amazing thing about that is the fact that once you're at the bottom of the hill, I'm watching this. This is the scariest thing I've ever seen. You are completely cool. I mean, a child probably going through this traumatic experience, and it didn't faze you at all.
I kind of like just looked at my dad and was like, I couldn't stop.
It was just so innocent too, just the way you just got, your dad's like, I swear, about to like have a heart attack and die. And you're just like, oh, yes, couldn't stop, Dad.
He was so upset. He was like, pretty sure I was going to run into a fence or someone else at the bottom. He's like, oh my God, my kid's going to end up dead.
So Matt, just on sort of with everything that you were saying in terms of, that camp selection, ski jumping, it's how it works. I mean, do you, as a child, are you looking at something like an Olympics as something to aspire to? Were you sort of competitive in other sports, or was this just sort of something that came along the way once you progressed in ski jumping that you wanted to strive towards an Olympics?
Yeah, so I mean, I was always kind of competitive as a kid. I did soccer from a young age, as I'm sure most Canadian kids did. And then I also did a bit of downhill skiing competitively. And it actually wasn't until ski jumping that, that somebody mentioned the Olympics, and that was kind of like lit the flame in my head about it. And then a couple of years later, I started jumping a little bit better, started jumping well, and I could see like, oh, this is actually possible. Like, I can actually go for this. And then that just fed the flame. And it was always kind of burning in me, the desire to go to the Olympics and, represent Canada and prove it to myself. But yeah.
Yeah, I've only ever been to Calgary during the winter, and I find it interesting listening to these interviews from athletes from there, that like the Winsport Park, there's stuff to do there during the summer. I mean, ski jumping in particular, I can kind of imagine going down the jump, but I mean, either or both of you are probably both familiar with it. How does it work in the summer? I mean, do you land on the grass? they put crash pads out?
Do you want to explain, or can I?
Sure, I can explain. So it's like plastic matting almost. They look like little, almost like plastic strands of spaghetti. And they go all the way down the hill. And with sprinklers, they spray water onto it. And it makes just a slippery surface. And it kind of, feels like snow. And you can land on it in the summer. And believe it or not, there's still competitions in the summer for ski jumping. There's a whole circuit, which is really surprising to most people because they always seem to think we land in water for some reason, but yeah.
It's fascinating because I know through, after we had you on, Ali, I think we had pretty much every ski jumper on the planet on. We went through a nice string of our ski jumpers afterwards, but it was learning about that sort of the summer tour. And I keep pushing for Brisbane 2032. Again, in Australia, it is going to be in our winter. So therefore, it is technically a winter Olympics, and Australia has never had a ski jumper. So I think that we can push for that, for them to build a giant ski jump and have the summer side of things. Because is it something that both of you, when you do, say, if you're doing the summer circuit, you prefer like the winter over the summer? Like, I mean, does the summer have its own sort of unique competitive style that might be different to sort of the snow side of things?
Arguably, at least for the women, it's less competitive because it doesn't go towards winning a crystal globe or your overall rank. And so really you only win prize money in the top 6 instead of top 20. And it's just a lot less people show up to every single event, unlike in the winter where there's girls who are fighting every single event to get their hands on the crystal globe, which kind of changes the competitive nature of the event.
And I just wondered, during the lead up to Beijing, was there a reduction in competitions, or were you both able to get as many runs in as you would normally get, say, if this were going into 2014 or 2018?
I actually couldn't tell you the answer to that because in 2014 I was like 10 years old. So I have no
she's
frame
not
of
a
reference.
dinosaur like you, Colin. Come on.
Yeah. So I don't really know what the training program was like leading into those games. Soukup could probably tell you better the competitive or like the competitions leading into 2018, but I actually don't really know.
Yeah, I mean, from like a general standpoint, everyone jumps better during an Olympic year. Everyone takes their jumping like a little bit higher. They're trying a little bit harder. They're doing everything that they can during that year because everyone knows it only comes once every 4 years. And yeah, it's just a bit more competitive. But in terms of like 2 weeks before the Olympics, the competitions are pretty similar. This year was a bit different with COVID. A lot of teams decided to take it easy. They don't want to risk potentially getting exposed at the last competition before the games. So there was, quite a few guys missing from that. But yeah, it's everyone brings their A game during an Olympic year, and it's definitely noticeable as a competitor.
Just before we get to the whole experience with Beijing, Ali, when we had you back on, you had all but qualified. It was basically a foregone conclusion. You just had to have everything solidified. So you obviously knew then. But I guess to both of you, what was that moment like when you were both confirmed? I mean, I'll start with you, Ali, because I said you were basically confirmed, but when you were officially confirmed, what's that moment like when you were going to the Olympics?
I actually lost my spot because I got disqualified in one event. And then I did get it back the very next day, fortunately. But so there was like that moment where it was like a little slip up, and I just saw everything like crashing down. I was like full blown freak out about this. And I managed to pull myself together. And at the time it was a new personal best. So it was my first top 15 result on the World Cup. So I was pretty happy with that. It was my first World Cup points. It was my first World Cup on a big hill. It was my second World Cup event ever. So it was a pretty good comeback after a disqualification and kind of that heartbreak where it's like, oh my God, it was kind of the realization that it was it was a reminder that it wasn't a guarantee, that I still, had to push for it. But once I found out, it was like a feeling of relief, and it was just so exciting. And I was so over the moon, and Abby and I were texting back and forth constantly. We were like, we're going to do this there and this and this. And we were just really excited to be going.
And Matt, for yourself, was it a similar sort of sense of just boom, I'm going? And hopefully you didn't get disqualified and have to do that turnaround situation as well.
I don't know. My situation was a bit unique. Me and Mackenzie are pretty much the only Canadian males on the national team. So in terms of competing against each other for a spot, I had to just qualify myself on the world stage. I didn't have to compete against my teammates for it. But yeah, so the qualification period is about 2 years leading up to the games, where they take all the results from Grand Prix and World Cups, and you get put into a big list. And when the Olympics comes, they go down the list and they pick 5 from each nation until they run out, or whoever qualifies in order. And so I knew from my points within the last 2 years that I had qualified Canada a spot, and it was just my job to keep myself in shape, stay safe, don't catch COVID, stay healthy. And so when I just try not to think about it too much. Like try to keep things cool, casual. And then when the Team Canada post came out and I saw myself on Instagram and in the news, like being named to the team, I was like, oh, okay, now it's happening. Okay. Yeah.
So you don't actually, like, you don't get a phone call from Tank. You see it on social media at the same time as we all do, confirming you there.
Well, we got an email like you get like it's like a nomination to the team and you have to accept or decline the nomination kind of the week before. So there's a deadline for ski jumping to qualify yourself. And so it's after the last event or second last event before the Olympics. And so you have that date, and on that date you get the email that says you've been nominated to the Canadian Olympic team for the Beijing 2022 Olympics. Do you want to accept or decline? And so obviously Soukup and I both accepted it.
So who would have clicked decline?
I know.
No, I'm busy. I'm busy. I've got a trip to Mexico booked in February. Nah, next time.
I don't know. It's an option. And then we had a team meeting. I think it was like the next day or the day after, and it was kind of walking us through all of safety regulations, kind of do's and don'ts, and like what's gonna happen on the day of the announcement. So we did already kind of know, we had an idea of what was going to happen.
Mm-hmm. And how much do you know? Like, obviously, you get a couple of weeks advance notice you're about to go to Beijing or whatever, but how much do you have to prepare for, like isolation or anything like that? Like, was there anything that was different maybe going into these games where, you know, there are travel restrictions or needing to get there ahead of time, testing, anything like that before the games even start?
Yeah, well, Abby and I had decided that we were going to basically self-isolate except for training, and have someone bring our groceries for us, and then wear a mask when we're even in the gym. So we were like being extra cautious. And then leading up to the games, we had to test 2 or 3 times. Soukup?
Yep.
Yeah, so we had to test a few times before we actually even left Slovenia. And Abby and I were doing antigen tests every day just to make sure, so that, you know, our alternates could be prepared if there was a negative so that they could go. Is
it a case then, so you're with Abby and then Matt, I'm guessing you're sort of working more so with Mackenzie, like, are you sort of keeping these completely separate, and then when it comes to the mixed event, that's when you come together? Or is there any moments where you are sort of all training together at points as well?
Well, yeah, they live pretty close to us, so.
Yeah, we live like maybe 3 minutes apart, but some of our training on the same plane going there. So yeah, we were like one team pretty much. Yeah,
and also Soukup actually met us. So we flew from Switzerland on the charter flight to Beijing. And so Soukup met Abby and our coaches and me in Switzerland. And then so we actually ended up getting stuck in Switzerland for one night. And then the next morning we went to Beijing.
That's one of the things that, you know, in the lead up to these games, obviously, ski jumping almost being the forgotten sport in Canada, along with another favorite of Ben's as well, which may incorporate ski jumping. You know, there's not as much media attention, but I found going into these games, partly through the interviews that we had on the show here, and then just seeing on social media, there seemed to be so much more of like a team vibe with you guys. I would argue more so than actual teams, like a lot of the curling teams that, you know, were sent to the Olympics, hockey teams. And yet at the same time, I mean, you're 4 individual competitors that just sort of came together. Was it, you know, any one thing in particular that kind of makes you guys gel as a team? Is it being able to train so close to each other? You know, maybe having some of the same difficulties that a lot of the amateur athletes from the other sports in Canada represented didn't have?
I think part of it, oh, sorry.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, you know, we're such a small group. We're like a little community, and we all know each other very well. And we all came from the same place. We all face very similar problems, from getting pretty much kicked out of wind sport and then having to move to Slovenia. And, you know, it was kind of special for us to compete as a team as well. Like, we don't get very many chances to do mixed team events. So yeah, it was just incredibly exciting just to just to compete together. And then of course, when the moment came and we did get that medal, it was such a shared experience because we all knew like what it meant for ski jumping in Canada, and like all of our little ski jumping community back home in Calgary, they all knew how big it was and how much it meant to everyone. And yeah, it was just a very much shared experience.
Yeah, I think even for teammates who are no longer jumping and who had retired because of the lack of support, and even the NOCO athletes who had to retire for the same reason, they kind of shared our excitement with us because, you know, we were competing with nations who have everything handed to them on a silver platter, and we barely even had a ski jump, and then it got closed, and half of us moved halfway around the world and the others had to quit because they couldn't afford it because there was no support. We're all self-funded and our families help us out when we need it, but it's a real struggle for us. And so when we succeeded, it was just like that pure bliss and pure joy because we continued in the sport because of our passion, not necessarily because, you know, we felt like we had to because, you know, we're the most talented or we're the best athlete ever. It was because we loved the sport so much we're willing to give up everything for it.
I was also going to say that the bond that you guys had, I mean, just watching you all on social media sort of after the medal, but even in the lead up, I mean, you know, Ali, you and Abby seem incredibly close and kind of just the fun posts you're doing there and then kind of just through all of you. And the one thing that I think seemed interesting is obviously you've got, you know, you three, I guess, are sort of the young debutantes on the team, you know, sort of the ones, and you've got Mackenzie, who's what, his fourth Olympics. So is it kind of like, how does that work in terms of like an age gap? Is he kind of just like the father figure to you three, or are you just sort of all, because you're in the unique position like you're explaining there, Ali, where it's sort of, you know, a closely knit sport that age doesn't matter, you're just all four teammates and you're just all there to do the same job?
Yeah, that's kind of more like what it is. Mackenzie's definitely a role model for me, at least, just because he has more experience and I think he's really fun to hang out with. So I think the four of us had a pretty good time hanging out together in Beijing, and it was kind of fun when we got to celebrate our achievement together. And it wasn't like, Abby and I were talking about this, we're like, it wasn't like one of us had the best day of our lives and the other one had a terrible time. It was like, it was all of our best days. Like, it was just the best moment for all of us. And, you know, the fact that it wasn't alone, it just made it sweeter.
One of the things during the event, you know, obviously that was talked about was you know, not just the performances you had, but some of the other disqualifications that come as a surprise. And I think that was one of the most fascinating things I found in all the interviews we had leading up to the games is just how precise everything has to be in ski jumping. So even though it might seem like, you know, oh, well, there's disqualification here or there. I mean, that happens. I mean, Ali, you almost suffered that on the way to the Olympics as well. Is there...
Twice this season, I disqualified my individual event in Beijing, and then the event that ended up didn't cost me my spot, but I lost my spot at one point because of disqualification.
And I have to imagine that, you know, again, compared to other sports where you can size up the competition, and I mean, for moguls, for example, I'm a big fan of moguls. You can know this person's probably going to perform well, this person's probably going to do this and this, but you never know if somebody's going to wipe out. It seems so much more so in ski jumping, just all those little technicalities. Like, is there any way to really go into an event like this and say, this is the competition, these are the ones who are going to be the top ones to beat?
I mean, there's always like some superstar or some stronger nations. Like Slovenia, we had like everyone was pretty sure they're going to podium. Their women's team is quite strong, and their men are pretty consistent as well. So everyone had a good idea that the Slovenians were going to end up on the podium, but the rest of the podium was kind of underdogs. So it was two underdogs on the podium, which was pretty special.
Before we talk, there's so much to talk about in terms of that event and also the individual ones as well, but always like to find out the Olympic experience, you know, everything from getting your uniform to the village to, you know, bumping into Shaun White or, you know, Estelle, people like whoever you know, the whole thing that you're soaking up there. I'll maybe start with you for this one, Matt. Like, do you take moments like that when you're there to kind of soak those up and realize what it is to be an Olympian outside of the whole competition aspect of things?
Yeah, it was my first Olympics, of course. So everything was new to me. And I was honestly just so excited to be there and experience everything. Yeah, like one of the breakfast with, a fellow Canadian athlete, maybe it was a downhill skier or, another sport, freestyle skier. And then, later in the day, they win an Olympic medal and you're like, well, I was just talking to that guy at breakfast. Like it's
people saying that about you later on that day too. They're like, "Oh, just having breakfast with that ski. We just won a medal."
Actually, speaking about that, one of my favorite moments was right after the medal ceremony. We took the bus back and we had our medals freshly placed on our necks, and we went right to the athletes hall and got a couple pizzas. So that was, and then just walking around, people are like congratulating us and taking photos, and that was a good time.
Like a pretty well-known ski jumper who came up to us, and like it was like he was from Switzerland, so it was a smaller nation, and he came up to us and was like, "Can I get a picture with you guys?" And we're just like,
this guy has 4 gold medals. He's
is this Simona Mart? Is this Simona Mart? It is. Wow.
Wow.
Jeez.
And he was like, "Can I get a picture with you guys?" And Abby and I are like,
wow.
"I'm sorry. What?"
That is pretty crazy.
Yeah, I'll have to find that photo. I'll send it to you. Maybe it won't take me 5 minutes to send you.
I mean that's true, but that's because I know that name because I remember back in 2002 here in Australia they were like Harry Potter on skis because everyone was just marketing that way. But then I remember it was Vancouver he won another 2 as well. So that's pretty all right. Okay.
It was like a moment that really hit me where I was like, holy crap, people actually know who we are. Like, I'm sorry.
Wow.
Like, I didn't realize anyone knew who Canada was. Like, I thought we kind of just flew under the radar, pun intended.
We do more than hockey, just so you know. Aside from just being able to explore the village and stuff like that, meet other athletes. I mean, I think one of the unique things about both Tokyo and Beijing, obviously, being the lack of the regular crowds that we get at the Olympics, or maybe even that you're used to just on the World Cup circuit. I guess for the first part, did either of you get to watch each other's individual events? And was there any type of Canadian contingent there so that, you had a bit of a cheering section? I mean, Chef de Mission maybe aside.
I did go and watch, or Abby and I did go and watch the boys' training, and we watched the men's competition. So Abby and I were there to support our boys. It was pretty exciting. We wanted to cheer them on, especially kind of getting ready for the mixed team event. We were trying to kind of rally the team spirit. And then obviously Big Hill was after, so it was kind of like continuing on where it's like, okay, you did really well here. Now we want to watch you succeed here.
Is it a case when you've got, so you both had, your individual one, Ali, was before the mixed team, wasn't it? And then one of yours, Matt, was. So like, is it a case of, say with you, Ali, like, I'm glad my individual one's over and done with now because I can focus on the team, particularly with obviously what happened to you in the individual one, or would have you preferred the mix to be later after? Like, I mean, how does that sort of work for the mentality when you've got like 2, and for you, obviously, Matt, you've got 3 events that you've got to do?
For me, it didn't matter the order of event, but the way things played out, I am happy with, because I feel like my performance in the mixed team event was partially because I was a little bit angry and I had a little bit of grit in my teeth because I was upset. Like, I mean, Matt saw me that night and I probably cried for the entire next day. I think like I was crying in the athletes lounge, and like Mac and Abby were like sitting on the couch with me talking to me, and I was like crying in the dining hall. Like my boyfriend force fed me a KFC chicken sandwich, and like,
wow,
it was like I was just devastated because like I had worked so hard to get here and I didn't think I'd get there, and then it was gone like that. It was gone. The scale, like the numbers came up one by one, and that last number showed up and I was done. And it was just like crushing.
It's crazy to think, just like how much you need to go to feed someone a chicken sandwich. That's
now we know that's what it takes to win the medal.
Chicken sandwich, yep.
I actually, for both of you, being able to compete in both individual events and in team events, do you, I guess, strategically jump differently in one versus the other? I would guess in the team event, you kind of have to know you need this, and also, I guess, same lines. Do you ever feel like you have to reserve something for another? Does that add a little bit of added pressure, knowing, I have to make sure that I've got enough left to do the team event?
For us,
yeah, I wouldn't say so. It's kind of like as soon as you're up at the top of the ski jump and you get the flag from the coach, it's just you. It's from that point on, it's individual, and at the end, when all the points are added up, then it's a team effort. But none of your teammates can jump for you when you're coming down the ramp. So I don't know. I don't think, at least I don't change my mentality that much when I'm on the jump, when I'm jumping. But after, then of course, it's nice to share the emotions with teammates. So.
Yeah, I definitely agree with Soukup, because to pull your end of the team, you gotta focus on what you're doing, and you can't be like, oh, I'm worried about what they think about me, and I'm worried about this and this and this. You just need to jump and not be fixating on external things, because fixating on something outside of your now is going to result in not a very good jump, because you're not going to be thinking about what you have to do. You're not going to be focused, and you're not going to be calm. And so you can think about what all your teammates are doing and, all that when you get to the bottom, and you get to share those moments with them at the bottom. They're not sitting on the bar with you. They're not putting on your boots, Ironically, I was in Abby's skis, but
I was going to ask about that, because I did read something that you had, what did that come down to?
So my skis were my original skis were 235s, and I was 300 grams too light for my skis. And so my coaches decided that I'd use Abby's spare skis, because hers were shorter than mine. And so Abby lent me her spare skis so that I could compete in the mixed team. So fortunately, I have a good teammate who will share skis.
And that 300 grams is what got you disqualified in the individual event,
300
right?
grams. Yeah.
300 grams. Now, I remember in our interview talking about sort of the uniqueness about certain things when it comes to that. And I don't think Colin ever let me, live down the fact that I was asking an 18-year-old about her crotch, but we won't get back into that. But
I was 17 at the time.
Well, thanks for making it worse. If you're listening to this, authorities, I'll give you my address afterwards. But what really hammered that home was, I was actually really glad that, I was able to have some education on that, and sure our listeners as well, because then what happens in the mixed team event, of course, is that comes to the front even more so when, what was it, Germany, Japan, Austria, and Norway are all having disqualifications as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, a part of it was the size of the suit this way for a lot of those girls, not necessarily their crotch, because we have I can't remember, I think it's 3 centimeter leniency. So if it's 3 centimeters bigger than your actual body, it's legal, but anything more than that, it's illegal.
Which it's so just fascinating, because I remember, through all of that I think, was it the Germans in particular were like, I've been jumping in this suit for so long, how is it different? How can you explain that simply about if that is the case? If you're jumping in a suit, maybe it was the same for you, that you were jumping in the same. It just didn't get checked. It just it's just that simple. It didn't get checked.
It just didn't get checked. And, there's different types of tests they can do, and they don't do all of them at once. They will only do one at a time. And so if your suit is only illegal in one part of this test, or one part of the series of tests for your equipment, then you're not going to get disqualified.
Wow. So so on the basis of where you get disqualified for that 300 grams, do you know you're 300 grams lighter, or because you've not been checked, you don't know?
Well, I actually checked right before my jump, but my scale was damaged in my suitcase traveling to Beijing. So it was reading that I was a kilo heavier than I actually was. So I was like, I'm so over, like, I don't need to worry, like, I'm okay. And then I got to the bottom and it was like, I saw the number was 1 kilo less than what I just measured at the top. And I was like, oh my God. And it was like, I watched the next number pop up and the next one, I was like, oh my God.
Wow. So basically we can blame the scales of the airport for getting you
No,
disqualified.
it was really my fault. I should have probably checked to make sure my scale was calibrated, but I mean, there's no one really, that's kind of a dumb, mistake there.
Just borrow Abby's scale next time. We know that's what these
Yeah.
scales, right?
Well, I was responsible for bringing the scale, so that was where the problem was.
I think I remember during the mixed team because I had my own scale and I was like, Ali, I got one.
I came in and I had my ski jumping suit on and I was like, Soukup, do you have a scale? Yes.
Matt, I have to ask you, because for me, anytime we have a ski jumper on here, this is now the playing bingo. Do you have any stories about crazy disqualifications based on, some very, very minute rule that you inadvertently had broken?
Ooh. I can't think of something really dumb that I've been disqualified for. But I do remember earlier in my career, I was disqualified more often than not at the top of the hill for at the top they met before I really knew what I was doing. I was getting disqualified because I was just holding the suit the wrong way in a disadvantageous way, but not anything particularly weird that I've been disqualified for, but I have been disqualified for weight too.
I was going to say nothing crotch related for you, Matt. Just.
I mean, yeah. If you do anything for long enough, they'll find something they don't like, and then that's the end of it.
It's always just a fascinating, like Colin's saying, it's always fascinating to chat to ski jumpers about this and learning everything about it, because that was the real talking point, I think, wasn't it? Particularly we were on air, calling that event, sort of. We'll talk about that in a moment. But then sort of when we're seeing these names getting disqualified and everything along those lines, it was just, that became the talking point when it's the big nations, Germany, Japan, Norway, sort of the leading contenders, which when you're in the midst of that competition and you're seeing this happening, is there a level of, yes, we're going to be finishing higher, or is it you've got to be so focused on what you're doing you can't get yourself sort of caught up in that moment when you've got your big competitors falling out that you're going to have a chance of finishing higher?
I'm going to be honest, there was a moment that Abby had to kind of bring me back in. I don't remember if Soukup was in the change room at this point anymore. I know it was Abby and Abby was sitting across from me, and she was like, I'm watching Canada. It's we're going up, and it's oh my God, Abby. I'm we're just off the podium, and she's like, okay, you need to calm down. It's okay. We got one more jump to do before you can get crazy excited. We all got to do our job one more time. And I was like, okay. And then Abby and I were lying on the floor. There's a video on Team Canada's Instagram page. And I took this video of Abby, and Abby's meditating on the floor, and she's falling asleep because she's just trying to, I think she's trying to keep herself distracted and focused, or she was just laying under the heater, enjoying it.
Yeah, the job was not done yet, so we couldn't go, crazy. We still had to, stay focused.
After Mac's first jump, though, we Abby and I were we heard it over the speaker. We're jumping up and down, and we're on the second floor of these temporary change rooms, and so the floor is bouncing, and Abby and I are bouncing, and Soukup opens the door and he's like, guys, I got a good jump, and then we're all jumping up and down. We were so excited. We were just happy that Mackenzie had a good jump, and we were oh my God, he had such a big jump, blah blah blah, oh my God, super, super happy. And it was just I don't know, I wish I could always be that happy, because it's just you're where you've dreamt to be since you're a little kid, and you're with your friends, and it's going well. I don't know, it just doesn't get any better than that.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I mean, I'll just be existing normally, life back home, and then I'll just remember that happened, and I'll just start smiling. It's like, it's really crazy.
You know, with the three of you, you two, and then Abby, kind of being Olympic rookies here, was there something different that Mackenzie brought during that competition? A calming force, or I would love to imagine that he, in his fourth Olympics, is probably just as excited as you guys are. But I mean, maybe there is something different with him being kind of the senior man on the team, the more experienced one.
Yeah, Mac was definitely like a team role model and team leader for us going into this event, especially. And I think he was kind of like a leveling force to, keep us in line.
Yeah, and he was completely dialed in. He really well with the hill, and all props to him during the mixed team event. He, of course, was the very last of us to go, and he started third last. And when you're at the top, that when you start third last, then that means you're in third. And just his ability to make his best jump during that round at that time, and just be like a machine almost. It's it's really crazy, and I'm just like really proud of him for that. Because you put anybody in that position at the top, it's just like it's not hard to overthink things.
I remember when we were waiting for Mackenzie to jump. So we went from jumping first to being third last to jump, and so there was this huge gap between Mac and Abby, and we had to occupy this gap, and it was like super heightened emotions, super anxious, excited, like you don't know what's going to happen. You feel like it's at the top, like your hands are on the podium, but it's like, oh my God, are we going to finish there? And so we were playing like, those like children games, like Stella Ola, like those sort of things. So we were trying to play these games to distract us, and like none of us could remember any of the rules. We're like shaking each other's hands like this and shaking each other like this. And we're like, oh my God, like, okay, Max still has to jump. And I remember at one point, like, the three of us are standing in a circle, and like we're kind of like in a huddle. And Abby's like, okay, no matter what, guys, we're going to be proud of Mac. And then Soukup was like, yeah, we're going to tackle him and dogpile him no matter what happens. Like, he could literally go 40 meters, and we're going to like give him the biggest hug ever. Like, no matter what, we just set a Canadian record. So it doesn't really matter what else we do. So,
which, with all of that in mind, to then know what happens. I mean, we were on air. You know this. We'll talk about this. You listened
Abby
to the
and I
episode.
listened to this. It was pretty funny.
But because like sort of it was one of these moments, I know that, we would go into, generally we were recording sort of at a certain time, and we would go, okay, these events are on, particularly if they were former guests. So we knew that was on, and I was sort of keeping an eye on the background, and I'm sort of just really watching a timing screen, and I'm going like, oh, okay, they're doing all right. They're doing well. Well, fourth. Oh, shit. Okay, this is going better than we thought. For us as, podcasters, we're excited. But for you guys, you're at the freaking Olympics and about to win a medal. Like, what? Was it something like that you dare to dream? You dare to dream that you can go to an Olympics and come away with a medal. Of course you do. You're a professional athlete, so that's what you want to do. But when it comes down to it, and you're seeing that number next to your name, and then it's over, and you realize you have just come away with a medal, like, can you each give us some sense of like any words of that moment you're confirmed as a medalist?
Well, actually, if there's like some clips of us cheering at the bottom that doesn't have any commentary on it, and they actually have to bleep out so much.
Like,
say, Colin, Canadians can swear. Come on.
We're sitting there at the bottom. We're like, what the fuck is happening? Like, oh my God.
Like we are losing it. Like
losing it.
Like the CBC one is so funny because it's just like you can hear, oh my God, bleep. Oh my God, bleep. What just happened? Bleep. Guys, look what just happened, bleep. And it's like Abby and I jumping up and down, and you can like, we're all getting bleep. It's like bleep, bleep, bleep.
Yeah, I think at that point we completely forgot there were cameras there. We were just
it didn't cross my mind that I was swearing on live international television until someone sent me the CBC clip of the four of us jumping up and down with all the bleeps. Someone sent this to me, and someone was like,
was it your mom? Was it your mom sending it to you?
No, it wasn't my mom. It was one of my best friends. She's like, you haven't changed at all.
So those words basically you're saying describe how you were feeling in that moment.
Yeah, like, I mean, we can, like, it kind of felt like it was just the four of us. Like, it didn't feel like there were any cameras around. It felt like it was us alone in the world. And we've done something that we were told was probably never going to happen in our careers, and that most people were very doubtful, especially in a team event, because not only does one person have to have 2 good jumps, 4 people have to have 2 good jumps. So, I mean, we definitely seized an opportunity that was there, but it was like something that we all said as little kids, I want to be Canada's first Olympic medalist for ski jumping. And people are kind of like, yeah, right, whatever, you're a little kid, and move on with it. Like, it's something that we all have been saying since we were little. And, you know, when we kind of did it together, and it's like people you've struggled with and you've grown with and you've lived halfway around the world, and they've kind of been your only friends and support. It's pretty magical.
You know, it was interesting for me when I was watching that, because again, we were recording and I would try to not have events I wanted to see spoiled until afterwards. And in a way, I still wish that I could have seen that event start to finish, you know, because that's half the suspense. So kind of dropping in at the end where it's like, we just medaled. I almost I couldn't even comprehend how suspenseful, what a big build this was, and all of your reactions. And really it sort of came just in seeing not only being able to see the event afterwards, but the media attention afterwards. I remember one of the things that that caught me the most off guard was how quickly, Ali, you and Mackenzie were interviewed, the, I guess, virtual in studio for CBC, because typically that's like 24 hours later, and it was like same morning of, you guys were there, official interviews.
Mac and I weren't even allowed to go get our stuff. I did that interview in a ski jumping suit. Mac and I were taken.
Was it legal?
From the
Was the suit legal? Were you disqualified from the interview?
Okay, good. Legal. All right. It got checked.
Good.
So, like, we were literally taken from the stadium. We got into a taxi with our media attaché, and we were sent to the CBC building. And Mac and I were like, I'm like, oh my God, what is happening? I'm like sitting in the backseat of this cab with Mackenzie, and I'm like, we ended up having this conversation. I was like, you know, the first Olympics I remember watching, I watched you ski jumping, and, you know, I wanted to be an Olympic athlete after watching, you know, ski jumping and moguls. And he was like, it was just like such a like wholesome moment, because it was like someone who inspired me to want to become an Olympian is someone who I just won an Olympic medal with.
And I think having watched the rest of those Olympics, I don't think anybody else, any other medalist, was interviewed as quickly as you were. And I think that kind of just puts into context what a huge deal this was for Canada. I mean, North America, as Ben said as well. I mean, how did, I guess, both of you find not just that one quick CBC interview, but everything afterwards? Like, has there been a ton of attention on this? Was it a big story, you know, not just for Canada, but anywhere else you've been?
It was definitely one of the biggest stories, in my opinion, for Canadians at the Olympics. I mean, it wasn't as hard as I thought to do all the interviews, because everything that they asked, it was always kind of easy questions. You always, like, of course you want to talk about it.
Journalists suck. It's fine. They're terrible at their jobs. Yeah.
Yeah. And but yeah, no, I remember like doing an interview with Abby the next morning. I think it was at like 9 a.m. and I did not sleep at all that night after the event. Like maybe 1 hour max. We were just like completely like brain is just going every which way, this way, and just like it was crazy.
I have a video from when Abby and I got to see each other. So she got taken away for a drug test and I got taken away to do interviews. And I got a video because Abby and I hadn't got to see each other. We hadn't gotten to talk. And so it was the first time Abby and I really got to see each other since we won the medal. And it's like, it's a video on my phone. It's super short and it's really shaky. And it's just her and I screaming, like shake. We have our bibs on and we have our Bing Dwen-Dwens. I actually have mine right here. Holding them like in one hand and we're like shaking and I'm shaking the phone like this. And it's like...
Nice.
No. Keep Bing Dwen can stay. It's all right. Like, don't get rid of Bing Dwen. That's just offensive. Come on.
I've been asked so many times to like people are like, can I have your Bing Dwen?
Well, we were going to ask, but now it's
We're going to
just
ask about the
awkward.
medal. Seriously, we're going to ask the Bing Dwen. That's, who cares about the medal when you've got that? Like, come on. Where's yours, Matt? Come on, where's Bing Dwen?
It's frozen now.
Yeah, he's overwhelmed.
No, she likes it. So, along with the medal ceremony flowers, those are actually pretty cool because they're made out of crochet. I think they're like fabric. Really cool. So they'll last forever. So she has both of those.
The thing that's amazing too, in just because it was great being on air to be able to do that, and I think Colin went off at me, but I'm still owning the fact that I was selfish that day when it came to the Daily Dale, and then when it came to the end of the Olympics, when I was basically saying your favourite moments. And I did get a bit selfish because I don't think we really talked about it. Ali, you listen to the show enough, and Matt, obviously, you don't listen because, Ali's the only one who listens. But like, we had a bit of a curse on this show. I felt, particularly with my interviews, that I had never had.
Not particularly.
I mean,
100% with Ben.
You know what it is, Ben? I think I figured it out.
Okay.
There was two of us, so it cancels out.
Hey, there you go. That works. I like that. There it is. So like I got very emotional in that moment because I'm like, oh my God, this is like, not just because I was happy, but it was also a case of like, oh my God, like this was a thing. And the thing that was also really unique too is that I remember when I first interviewed you, Ali, and looking sort of up information and kind of researching, there wasn't a lot of you online. And then even before the Olympics still, you hadn't really done many interviews. It still was our interview. Even literally today when I Googled to, get some extra prep, the interview that we did with you is still pretty much one of the main things that comes up. So it's kind of interesting that you go from having that level of, there's a few people interested and then nothing, to come on into CBC like immediately afterwards in your legal suit. And then you've got all this attention, which I've seen afterwards, which both of you have obviously done a lot of media since. So, like, I mean, that must be something that is unique to you. And you look like you're both relishing it, though.
Yeah, like, I definitely was a little inexperienced with media, but I am a pretty good public speaker. Like, before I was, like, when I was still living at home, I was kind of in grade 9 and 10. I would do interviews, or I would do public speaking events for children, or like interviews with classes. And so I kind of had some practice with public speaking with an audience that really didn't care or pay much attention to me. So it was good practice to kind of build up those skills to answer questions and respond. And so I was given that skill set beforehand, fortunately, but still I was a little unprepared for what was going to hit me. I think one of my, I don't know, I kind of find it embarrassing, but there's an interview where I'm literally covered, like you can see the streaks of tears. And I'm like wearing a mask, and so my mask is wet from crying and it's all muffled, and I'm like, whoa, I don't even remember what I was saying. I don't remember doing that interview, but it's apparently on CBC somewhere.
With all the swearing.
No, that one has no swearing, but I was just crying a lot.
Okay.
There were a lot of tears. I actually remember watching this really strange moment. So we have the women's head coach is really tall, and he comes up to Soukup and like grabs his face and like, I don't know if he kissed your forehead or just headbutted you. I don't know what happened. I was kind of watching from a strange angle, but he like
headbutted you.
Wow.
Wow.
Talking about Yanko?
Yeah, where he just brings you in. I think he kissed your forehead.
I think so too. It was just a very nice embrace, like immediately after. Like,
it was just like he just like grabs Soukup and is just like hugging him like a child. It was just well, they also gave us like these papers, and it was like instructions for what to do. None of us had been on like a World Cup or a world stage podium. Like, I mean, Abby and I are both pretty new, and like, Soukup as well. And Mac was really the only one who had any idea what was going to happen. And so we're like trying to read this piece of paper that's written in like Google translated English. And it's like none of us can read, and the papers were like shaking trying to read the paper. And I just like look at Abby, and Abby looks at me. She's like, dude, I can't read.
Yeah, I remember that too. We were down there. I remember like all three of us were like staring at this piece of paper for like 30 seconds. And then we'd look at each other and be like, I didn't read any of that. What's happening?
Then everyone just started walking, and we had to go first because we were third. And so we're like, oh my God, I don't know what's happening. And if you watch us get onto the podium, we actually did it twice because we messed up the first time. And so we're I don't know.
Yeah.
It was kind of a moment that it was like, you know what, we could do it again. We earned this. So we kind of stepped off and then did it again.
It was you getting a Bing Dwen Dwen. It wasn't the medal. It was like, yeah, we're getting a Bing that's sold out everywhere. Give me my Bing Dwen Dwen.
Yeah, but we all know like the photos of like ski jumpers getting onto the podium. I mean, like with individual sports, they just hop on and they jump, and then the photographers, they take a picture, and you look like you're just hovering there in the air. And when there's 4 of you, sometimes the timing it can be hard.
There's some really awkward photos where we're all like,
yeah, like some of us are like way up in the air, and some of us are still on the ground. Is
that going to be that's incorporated into your training now for the next Olympics? It's like, okay,
stepping onto the podium,
an hour of podium practice.
It's like how the NFL players practice their touchdown like dances more than they practice their throws. Like you can be practicing your podium now that you're just winning medals. You're like, oh well, bugger the jumping. We've got that down pat. Let's do the celebrations.
Yeah, like I'm happy we routined getting on the podium. Like,
well, and then when we were getting our actual medal, we're like, are we supposed to jump? Like, what do we do? And we can't watch anyone else. We're going first. We're like, okay, we're not going to jump. We're just going to gut on. And we're like, okay. And then no one else jumped in. So we're like, okay, at least we did that one right.
Yeah.
With the paper, was this part of the instructions?
Well, for the medal ceremony, they sat us in this like little room with benches in order of how you get on the podium. And it's this long instructional video. And I'm like zoned out completely. Like I have no idea what's happening. And I jumped first for Canada, so I was the first person to get on the podium for the first team.
There you go. You hold that record. Well, you were just secretly there listening to Off the Podium. You and Abby were just going like, okay, this is that part where Colin and Ben were getting excited last night. Hey, Matt, you should listen to this as well. This is a great show.
Yeah, sure. I think I heard about you guys in the past, but I was always way too busy or like doing something. And then Ali just sent me a text last night and was like, hey, this is happening. Hop on himself.
Trying to rally.
We're not trying to brag, but since we last spoke, we did win an award ourselves. So just saying
I voted for you guys. I hope you know.
Hey, well, that's why we won. There it is. We had an Olympic medalist gives us bonus points. So that's kind of how it goes there. I mean, when you get that medal around your neck and everything, do you try and get free shit with it? Like I always ask this question to our Olympic medalists, but like, I mean, I know it's bronze, but I mean, it's a historic bronze.
Abby and I got free upgrades on our flight home. We got bumped to first class. A very nice letter from like the cabin crew from Air Canada. So that was very nice.
Wait,
I got
did
that
you not
too.
want Matt?
Actually, I have mine.
You did? Okay.
Right here.
I was worried for a second this would end that like Mac and Mackenzie had to be bumped back.
Wow. There you go. Nice.
Yeah, like it was like they're an Olympic partner. So I think for them, it was really exciting to see, athletes they kind of support and have this sort of success. Yeah.
All the way back, it was probably 2 or 3 years ago now. We interviewed, what was his name, Nathaniel Ma, the last Canadian Nordic combined athlete. And I remember talking to him, not even realizing like how difficult both ski jumping and Nordic combined is here in Canada, and asking him like, what's it going to take for Canada to really get this type of support in the future? And I mean, the two things he said is like, there needs to be some type of funding and we need success. I mean, until you have success, until you can get somebody on the podium, you're not going to get renewed interest. You're not going to get, the type of funding that you need. Now we have 2 people here who are part of Nathaniel Ma's solution for ski jumping in Canada. So do you think that has there been anything even just since Beijing where there's hope for the program going forward to have more support, or are you seeing anything yet?
Well, I don't know what we can say about funding at this moment, but I do know that there's a lot of little clubs opening hills up because of what we did in Beijing. They're opening a hill in Quebec. They're going to try and reopen Thunder Bay. They're going to build a hill in Squamish and kind of build up that Whistler club. So we're going to have a few little hills kind of built up. Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's the start. I think it was the big start to really the change in direction for ski jumping in Canada. Because for a long time, it was always kind of like, the hills closed and then a lot of kids quit and then it was going down and down. And then with the medal, I think it's the start of going the other way. It's going to go back up.
Yeah.
And
I'm still the youngest international athlete we have right now, but there's fortunately some kids who are, I think, 14 and 13. So they're kind of coming up on that FIS Cup age where they can kind of start entering the international fields. So I'm optimistic that I won't be the last international ski jumper for Canada, but.
Well, that was kind of what I was going to ask, because obviously you both were around when that changed, when the hills were closed, and you had to make the move to Slovenia. So you're the first generation of Canadians who really had nothing in Canada for them. And could you imagine without this win? I mean, could we have gone 2-3 Olympics without any new athletes coming in? I mean, this success could potentially mean, like you're saying, there's people jumping now that without this, there would have been nothing there maybe by the time we got to the next Olympics.
It's kind of closing that gap. Those younger, I think the girl that's closest stage with me, she's 14 or turning 14. And so, I mean, 4-year gap, that's kind of where my gap is between me and my teammates. But all the girls my age quit when the hill closed. Regardless, that kind of, if you're thinking about it where I was at that age, it's kind of similar, and it's, aiming for the next kind of 2 Olympics. I wasn't actually initially aiming for 2022. I kind of got fast tracked, but it's a younger generation that we can see competing before we retire, which is, I think, important, because you have to have those older athletes to learn from and to kind of be like, okay, I want to do what they did. Because if you don't actually know them personally, or you don't spend any time with them, it's a lot harder to want to chase them and beat their goals that they've set.
And I can also imagine too that, I mean, at least at the time of recording this, I know the IOC, I think, are visiting Vancouver this week. I think it is, at least at the time of recording this, with the potential for 2030 to be there. So it's kind of in this unique period where, should Vancouver get the Olympics in 2030, you've just come off the cusp of this historic medal. There's going to be, they're going to need a ski jumping facility back in, Vancouver to be operational. So it's kind of, you're almost in this weirdly good period for the sport, I can imagine, where it's like medal, new facilities, better facilities, boom, ski jumping can really, no pun intended, take off.
Yeah, I actually got to jump in Canada for the first time since I was 14. I'm 18 now, a couple weeks ago, about a month ago, I think.
Happy birthday.
And thank you. I turned 18 a while ago now, but, so it was really special for me. It's been quite a while since I got to jump at home. I mean, it technically wasn't my home hill, but it's the closest thing any of us have to a home hill nowadays. And so, me and Natalie, one of the other national team members, we got to jump it, and we were kind of just like, we didn't even care how we were jumping. We were like, we're jumping at home. Like, we are jumping at home. And so actually World Junior Championships is going to be held in Whistler next year. So I'm quite looking forward to that. I'm hoping I can win on my home hill. Well,
you got a bronze. Can we just congratulate you just on that as well? Because obviously after the Olympics, another bronze, you got a World Junior Championship bronze as well. So kind of good form there.
Age.
Yeah.
It's the bronze age, yeah.
It's bronze too. So which I've got to ask then for your Olympic, and also you can add that to there, Ali, for your World Junior Championships. What do you do with your medals? I mean, you got your Bing Dwen straight away. Is your medal just there ready to pull out, or...?
It is.
Oh, she's there.
This is a first, isn't it, Ben?
I knew you guys were gonna. I knew you guys were gonna ask
there?
for it, so I got mine here. I know. Actually, I love what Abby does when she's working on sport or she's creating a workout plan. She'll have the medal box open next to her laptop, and sometimes I get the Snapchats where she's like, "This is like."
Chilling with the medal. Oh, there it is. Look at that. Wow.
Yeah, I got mine here too.
Oh.
Whip it out.
Oh, right. Well, yours is blue. Why is yours blue and Ali's white?
Oh, because we have two boxes.
Oh,
yeah,
you
I
get
still got the
two
other
boxes.
box.
Oh, look at the elaborate nature of all this. Hold them both up at the same time here. I feel we need to have both being held up.
Whoa.
Oh, don't break it now.
Oh, it's gone. There's no warranty.
Look at that.
And then you get this little pin. So I'm actually going to wear this pin to my graduation, but it's pins that you only get with an Olympic medal. And so I don't know how to take the pin out. I haven't quite.
For our
figured
audio
that out.
listeners, please go to YouTube right now and watch
I
this
never
because
took
you have
mine out
no
yet.
idea what is happening. But this is
Oh,
amazing.
yeah, we're just showing off our medals.
Get Bing Dwen
Yeah,
Dwen out
YouTube
too, Ali. Come on,
specifically
Bing
for
Dwen
this.
Dwen needs to join in.
Okay, yeah.
Bing Dwen Dwen and the medal. Look at this. Oh,
Now,
peek off the
how
podium
long-
right now, Colin.
We're
how
not
long
off the podium,
after?
We're just on it.
You are.
That's
there
right,
it
yeah.
is. Exactly. We would hold up our award, but we actually didn't get anything. So, cool.
Yeah, ours is virtual.
We got a billboard in London. Come on.
That's pretty heavy. But how long after the medal ceremony did you guys wait to take the medals off?
Probably Abby and I slept in them. We didn't want to let go of them because it's something that you fought your whole life for, and it's like I have it. I have physical confirmation of this. There's a video of Soukup and I in the cafeteria, and I pull out my medal from my jacket because the jacket Soukup has on right now is our medal jacket, and so it has
This is
a
what
little
we wore on
special
the
medal
podium.
holder in it. And so I have a video of me pulling it out, and then I show Soukup the medal, and then he's like, "Whoa, look, I have one too!" And we cheers our medals.
Like,
I think
The
you should
weirdest
wear
thing
them
for
for the
me-
rest of the interview. I think you should both wear them right now.
I don't have mine here; it's at the other house.
What your medal? I mean, your medal.
Oh, my
you should
medal.
wear.
Okay.
Yeah, I was going to say if you lost that quickly,
Well-
that was a record.
Well, since you guys both came wearing the apparel today, we have to ask about Lululemon because
love
sadly this is the first Olympics that I have not been able to buy any of the merchandise simply because I
Can't
couldn't
afford it.
spend $80 on socks was outside of my budget. But you guys get the free clothes. I mean, can you give us a review of it?
I was
so
going to say,
good.
could you give us
I
some
love
clothes, Colin? Jesus.
like everything is such high quality, and
Yeah, they really went all out. It was one of my favorite things. The boys actually didn't get these, but we had puffer pants. So they were a down jacket, but they were made out of this stretchy material, and they were the warmest pants I have ever gotten.
I
And
actually traded
love
with a
them.
girl for those. I have them.
Ah.
So you do have them.
Yeah, I have them. I think in my closet right over here. But
Was that like
They
you just
are
took her out for a
the
drink or
best
something,
pants
Matt?
ever.
Or,
yeah, I got
Wow.
them extra large too, so they actually fit. It's
They're kind of like a unisex. They're a straight leg. They're not a womanly shape, but oh my God, Abby and I were just in heaven. We were having the best time with our team kids because every morning we were okay, let's do our try. We started this on the first day, and we're okay, time for our outfit check. And so every time we left our room, we left in different outfits, and every time we would put on music and do a little fashion show for our Instagrams. And we just were having such a good time with the kids. The first night we got there though, it was midnight. We'd been traveling for 48 hours. We were exhausted, and Abby and I opened the door to our room, and it's oh, there's 2 Lululemon suitcases in here. And so we go and tear everything open. Our room was a mess, but it was pretty great.
So
Yeah, that was
I
one
love
of the
watching that with
favorite
the
parts, too.
suitcases. Just how you would have
I have
them.
a lot of video content that I had so much content I couldn't even use it all. So I had so much content, and I had to pick and choose my favorite parts. I did a video, I have videos of Abby and I trying on every single item of the Lululemon kit, and it's an hour worth of videos of Abby and I coming on screen and then coming off screen and then coming on screen and something else and then coming off screen, and it was so
Did you and Mackenzie
Matt, did
do
you-
the same thing, Matt?
I was
It's
gonna ask
yeah.
that.
Oh yeah. Well, okay, so we didn't video it, but
You didn't
I
need
have
to. You
a
would-
bunch of pictures of when we first got there, the bags, the hotel room, and all the goodies, the merchandise, everything. And then that was it was pretty crazy because we got there at 1 a.m.
Yeah, it was late.
and we didn't care that it was that late. We wanted to open up all the stuff. We needed to see
that
what
was
we
me and
had.
Abby too.
And I think that's such I don't know. I think that's every athlete's one of their favorite parts of the Olympics is the clothes, getting there, getting all this swag, and it's yeah.
And when you get a bit of extra jewelry at the end of it, it just adds to the overall.
Yeah, no, they were so kind to include this necklace.
I know. Look at that. It teams with the theme so well. It just
Yeah.
suits it really, really well. We're gonna ask Matt some questions in a moment and sort of get to know. We obviously asked you them, Ali. You can chime in. You can update your answers. But one thing I just want to, a couple of things to touch on. Just quickly on the individual side of things. Obviously, we talked about Ali, sort of what happened with you, Matt. For yourself, 45th in the normal hill, 49th in the large hill. Were you satisfied? Like, did you set yourself a goal to make it through to so obviously the final round and kind of, weren't happy, or you were happy? Like, well, sort of, what were your thoughts on your individual performances outside of the team event?
Yeah, they weren't, the best results. I wasn't exactly satisfied. I just made kind of simple mistakes. And actually, during the first event, normal hill, I was struggling to find the rhythm of the hill. And I actually didn't figure it out until trial round of the mixed team. Wow. And so my timing on that was like pretty good. I mean, but because the mixed team was the one that I cared about the most. Of course, individual is important for myself just to compete and be there. But I knew going into the event, like for my standards, I think top 30 would have been like, I would have been really happy with that result. But that's just the level that I was at during the Olympics. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm just not crazy upset, but I knew I could have done better during those individual events.
And for both of you now, I know it's a question any Olympian hates being asked so quickly after an Olympics, but do you look towards Milan now? Is that sort of switchgear focus, or are you both sort of still kind of relishing in what happened in Beijing, and that's a decision that you will sort of make at some point?
I'm definitely not. I'm like excited and I'm happy, but I don't want to fixate on the past because it's hard to move forward when you're obsessing about one moment. And it's something that brings me joy, and it's something I can use to motivate myself, but it's not something I want to obsess over. So I'm not necessarily thinking about Milan, but I'm kind of thinking about World Championships and World Junior Championships for the next kind of year, 2 years. So those are kind of my main focuses right now.
Matt, yourself?
Yeah, and for myself, it's like I agree with Ali. I know it's not good to fixate on one moment, but it's really hard not to like think about 2026 after.
Yeah.
Our experience, and like it's really hard when you're there. You're like, of course I can go another 4 years. Of course, this is so worth it. And then, yeah, 4 years is a long time.
Yeah. I mean, definitely for us, we're some of the younger athletes competing. So it is realistic for us to say, yeah, like I'm going to stick around for at least another 4 years. But still, you never know what's going to happen with injuries. You never know what's going to happen, in life. So you can't be like, I'm 100% going, like, or at least I'm going to 100% be around still. You kind of have to be realistic, and you can be optimistic, but you have to give yourself a reality check once in a while.
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually just curious for both of you, the prospect of Vancouver 2030. Not whether or not that would change your answer, but just thoughts on if that being a possibility. I mean, the chance to compete on home soil in the Olympics.
I would likely try and stick around for that for sure, even if Vancouver isn't in that Olympics, but especially it being an Indigenous run Olympics. So the heading of that committee is Indigenous. So that would be an extra bonus for me. I think that that's super vital. And I think it's really important to have Indigenous people have a say in the Olympics, especially as a group who are a minority in the Olympics.
It'd be a history-breaking, obviously, Olympics if that happens, because it would be the very first Indigenous organised Olympic Games of all in history. Which it's the unique thing too about 2030 is that unlike past cycles where you would know that we would be getting a decision next year, we don't know. We could wake up by the time we've recorded this and released it. We might already know. Like, you don't know. The IOC is going to wake up tomorrow. Yeah, bugger it. We actually know they're going to Winnipeg. Screw everyone else. Yeah.
Oh, please make it Winnipeg.
Yeah.
If it was Winnipeg, it'd still be in Canada. It's still a win.
That's literally the answer for that. Yeah, Winnipeg's still in Canada, sure.
I could walk to watch you guys win your next medal.
Which is the only way to get around in Winnipeg. True story. I'm also just calling it, before we get to the questions, I I just want to say this right now. I'm going to put this on the record that I think both of you are going to lose your bronze medals. I don't think you're going to get them. I actually think you're going to have silver medals because I think it's only a matter of time before Rock get disqualified because we know it usually happens with them. So I'm just saying, keep an eye out on this space. You will be silver medalists probably by the next time we get you both on the show.
Andre DeGrasse is already upgraded. It's only been 6 months. You never know.
I don't know if we will get an upgrade because
you don't have to comment. It's fine. That's on me. That's like,
I'm like, I mean, also like it would be, I don't know. I think bronze is the happiest medal, so I'm okay with the happiest medal.
The happiest medal. I've never heard it quite described that way before. I like that.
I mean, my teammates all agree, and people who've won gold, bronze, and silver who've won all of them say bronze is the happiest because you're excited just to be there. And, we were excited just to compete. We were excited to make second round. And the fact that we came home with some medals is kind of...
I just secretly think you're a summer athlete because if you were a summer athlete from Canada talking about your bronze medal, we know that's Canadian gold in the Summer Olympics, but not anymore now that the Summer Olympics are equally doing as well. 10 years ago, that joke was funny. Now it's just offensive. So got to be careful.
2016 joke stated.
You got a lot of bronze medals in this Winter Olympics, like a lot. It was a strange.
It was a record breaking. It was a congratulations. You were part of the history making Canadian team that won the most ever bronze medals at a Winter Olympics. So well done to both of you. Good job. The record that doesn't get talked about. Sure, you broke through for Canada's first ever ski jumping medal. Whatever, as long as you were a part of that history making bronze medal team from Beijing. That's all that matters.
I think that was one of the weirdest things for me was at the Olympics when you woke up the next morning. I was like, oh my God, we contributed to the medal count. What?
And then he came up to me at breakfast. He was like, oh my, like you realize our medal counts towards like our overall like medal count. And I'm like, oh my God. And we're like eating breakfast. And I don't know if Mac was, but me and Abdullah are like, oh my God, like we like actually mattered. Like we put it in, like not that we didn't matter before, but we're like,
before that you didn't matter. It was only when you got a medal.
It was like, I don't know. It was just like, it didn't really like, I mean, I knew and I felt like I was part of the team, but it felt like it was a different feeling of being part of the team. It was, I don't know, how would you explain that? Because it's a difficult emotion to explain.
It was like, I don't know. It's so hard to take everything in when it happens. And, of course, we're like thinking about us four, just like going through this experience. But then we have to look at the big picture too, like how much this means for everyone that's ever been involved. And then, the Olympic medal count, representing all of Canada. It's, it really hits you and it still takes a while to set in. It was like the most amount of emotions I think I'll ever go through, at least for a while. So. And
I also think that if I ever win another Olympic medal, it's not going to be the same because like there were so many components that made this one so magical. I mean, like my first, my country's first, my friend's first, and the fact that we did it like all together and it was like so unexpected. It was like all of these things that just added to make it like a little bit more special.
Yeah, the next one is just, God, another medal. God, put it on the shelf.
I mean, obviously it would be exciting and I'd be happy, but it feels different when you did it as a team.
Yeah.
I think that was one of the most exciting things, in watching all the way to the end of the Olympics. Once you guys won, my question was, is this going to be just as big of a story on day 16 as it is now? And then come day 16, like the names that were being thrown around were you two, Mackenzie, Abby, and then Max Perot. Like you were up there, the most talked about athletes at the end of the games. And one of the things we did, I mean, if you listened, is we would put up our Australian and Canadian like historical athletes. And when I was looking for a Canadian athlete to put up for ski jumping, I mean, it was slim pickings. Now thinking the next time we do this, I mean, your names will be the ones we bring up.
Let's go. There was also like a moment that like there's been a few times where it's like really hit me when that like people actually know who I am now. I'm not just some kid who lives in Slovenia. Like really that I went like felt like from overnight, I went from being just some kid who lives in Slovenia to being like Olympic medalist, like, you know, this Canadian athlete, you know, really overnight happened. And so one of the moments was when we came back from getting our medals and Mikhail Kingsbury came up to us and was like, congrats guys, like way to go. And Soukup and I were like,
Colin's losing his shit over that.
I was like, nice job to you too, man.
It was like, oh yeah. It was like a holy crap moment. It was like, oh my God, like he knows who we are. Like,
yeah.
Me? You know who I am? I was like, oh my God.
It was the same thing for me with, with Max Burrow. When me and Abby did that interview, he was just finishing up his interview and, you know, he came back and we were chatting a bit and he's like, this was before we got our medals and he had already had his gold around his neck and we were like, whoa, like crazy, man. And he's like, you know, congratulating us. And then we were like, dude, congrats to you. Like yours is gold, man. Like,
wow. Jeez.
Yeah,
I'm just thinking with this. Please, no, go, Ali. You're the medalist here. I'm going to shut up.
One of the other moments that really hit me that people know who I was, I hadn't gone to school probably for more than 2 or 3 days at a time since I was in grade 9. And so no one really knew who I was. Like they knew we had a ski jumper there. And when I got back to school, there was a board with Soukup's face, my face, and Mackenzie's face, like a giant board in the middle of the school that was like NSS at the Olympics. And so that's my school name is NSS. And so I was like, oh my God. I was like, and the first person who saw me was like, oh my God, are you the ski jumper? And I'm like, oh no. And so
this is embarrassing now. Take the medal away.
Probably the first 3 weeks of school, and then I got sick. But for the first 3 weeks of school, like there wasn't a day that went by that one person didn't come up to me and ask me about it or was like, are you the Olympic medalist? Is this who you are? And I'm like, yeah, that's me. Like it's my picture on the wall.
Also, you're probably still wearing the medal though, right? That probably also gave it away.
Even today, I was writing an exam, and in this exam center, some kid turns around to me, like with, I don't know how old they are. They're a year or two younger than me. And they turn around, they whip around, and they're like, are you the one that went to the Olympics? And I'm like, yeah, I am. and they're like trying to ask me about it. And I'm like, I'm writing an exam right now. Like, if you want to ask me about it later, feel free. But can I finish my exam first? And they're like, oh yeah, sorry. Okay. And turns back around and starts writing their own exam again. I was like, oh God. Yeah.
Jeez,
what was one of the questions about how many grams your skis can weigh? Because then it would explain maybe.
Like it was strange going back to school. And like even now I was in the, you know, Earl's, so a Canadian restaurant chain. And someone came up to me and was like, oh my God, are you that Olympic medalist? And I'm like, well, I'm one of them. I'm like, oh my God. Like I've had it a few times where people are like, oh, like you look familiar. Are you like an athlete or something? And I'm like, yeah, I was in Beijing. So
I hope it's happening to you too,
I like
Matt.
interacting with people that don't know yet.
Yeah.
Like
I'm like, I know a secret you don't. I'm like, it's
like
kind of
just for example, like I had to go to the optometrist the other day just to do a check. And my optometrist like knows I'm a ski jumper. She like every time she's always asking me about it. But I don't think she saw anything in the news. And so, you know, we're talking. She's like, oh, did you go to the Olympics? I was like, yeah, I did. And she's like, how did you do? And I was like, I got third, or we got third. And she's like,
so excited he freezes.
It's like I get a ton of fun sometimes. But
that's
my dog's at the door. Hold on.
Oh God, everything's happening right now. There's freezing. There's dogs happening.
You know,
it's just,
was I frozen there for a second?
Just a little bit, but it was entertaining. Like it was not a bad freeze.
It was just like, the right spot to freeze.
It was like perfect time. Now we've got dogs involved. Like this is the most exciting interview we've ever done, Colin. This is what happens.
Dogs.
Introduce us to your dog here, Ali. Like what's
Let me see if I can fix my internet.
He's a little Boston Terrier.
Oh, and how old is he?
I think he's 9. You're 9.
You think
right?
he's 9?
Yeah, I don't really know.
Well, she's only 18, Ben.
Well, we're not getting through these ages again right now. Basically, remember that the trouble we get in with that. But
where
Matt,
did your dog's name come from?
Don't know.
Somebody
My
just made it up.
stepmom named him.
he chose it himself. He decided to bring that up. Before we get to the questions, one thing I need to quickly point out, mainly because I like to embarrass Colin on air, can we just also gladly, while we have two medalists from a mixed team event at the Olympics, firmly say that mixed team events at the Olympics are great? Because Colin's not a fan of mixed team Olympics.
I never said they weren't. I said I didn't like one mixed team event.
He's lying. Ale, you listen to the show. You know he hates them.
That's okay. We proved you wrong already. So
Yeah. We proved how great they are.
Ben finally breaks the curse, and now he wants to throw everybody else under the bus.
I get cocky. All right, I'm getting cocky. Trust me, if we ever get Eileen Gu or Michaela Schifrin on the show, you can call me out. Don't worry, it's fine, Colin. You got plenty of ammo to use against me when it comes out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you appreciate a Michaela Schifrin love at all? Did you bump into her at the village?
Absolutely. No, they were. I think the downhill skiers were actually in a different village than us. So we had freestyle, we had ski cross, we had Nordic sports. What else did we have in our village? I think that was
like moguls.
Yeah, like freestyle, Nordic sports, and ski cross, because ski cross is kind of the in between of.
Yeah, they're the in-between
different skiing sports. So they're complicated.
They just mash them all together. That's kind of what they do, right?
That's basically what it is. Anyways.
Which actually, speaking of moguls, as I said before, you got our athlete of the day. I fought for that. You got the Daily Dale. Now, let's be honest. I know you two are very familiar with the esteemed great Australian/Canadian Dale Begg-Smith. But, I mean, what means more to you, winning an Olympic bronze medal or winning Off the Podium's Daily Dale?
Well, but the thing is, we wouldn't have gotten the Daily Dale if it wasn't for the Olympic medals. So, it's kind of a 2-for-1 with the Daily Dale,
But it just say it means a little bit more, though, right? Because you knew by winning that medal, by listening to the show, you knew that you were going to get that. So you think, hey, the reason I win a medal is so I can win the Daily Dale.
Ben, I was going to say, Ben, if you're really listening to her answer, she's saying, winning the Olympic medal leads to the Daily Dale.
Exactly.
Kind of like a bronze will lead to a silver and gold. Yeah, there you go.
Exactly. And then Dale Begg-Smith on his island he's smiling right now at the prospect of that. That's what I like it. It works out very well. Now, Matt, we ask these questions to Ali. These are sort of a get to know stuff, which, I mean, I think you mentioned to me, Ali, that you got these questions, but did they not publish them on the website again, or?
We got them for Youth Olympics. That's what they were for. We didn't get them this time.
Right. Jesus, Canadian Olympic Committee, what's going on? These, back in the day when they did cool things for the website. But I mean,
we'll ask our COC lady.
Yeah, well, you might have an in now that you've got a bit of weight there. But Al, you can answer these again if you want to.
Okay.
Just in case.
Okay.
What are these questions like?
Well, you're about to find out. They're very in depth and hard. I mean, Ali's back on the show, so clearly we didn't torture it too badly.
These are what athletes prior to the last two Olympics, like Tokyo and your games, were given and was published on the website. They would fill it out in their own handwriting. Some of them are serious questions. Some of them are ridiculous questions. So there'll be some good and drawings. Yeah. So there'll be some variety in there.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
We actually didn't get these ones though.
You didn't get these at all? So in any
we didn't get any sort of questions like that. Like we had we filled out our athlete portfolio, but we didn't get any fun questions like that.
I just think that they just dropped the ball here. I just don't know what happened.
No, they just passed the baton to us, Ben. It's on us.
They did. Well, exactly. They were like, off the podium, we'll do that. All right. So Colin and I will alternate between these two. I think we've got the same questionnaire up here, Colin. Otherwise, we're just going to work off a whim here. All right. So we're basing these off Bailey Bram, a hockey player. So there you go, the esteemed. I don't know. She's probably a great Canadian. No offense. Your favourite Olympic moment of all time is, Matt, and you can answer your own, that you just won a bronze medal if that is your favourite Olympic moment.
Can I change my answer from the last time?
No, you are not allowed to.
Favorite Olympic moment is our moment.
Of course you can, Ali.
Yeah.
I have waited so long for somebody to answer that.
Yeah, that's definitely my favorite Olympic moment now too, but I mean, it's extra special for us, obviously. So
A really close second would be Sidney Crosby's golden goal, 2010.
And I'm
not
guessing you were
Canadian
watching
and
it live.
I even love that. I appreciate that moment.
Yeah.
Most watched event in Canadian history.
Yeah.
Well, let's see if Sidney Crosby can go 2 for 2 here. As a kid, my favorite sports team was.
Ooh, yeah. I'm gonna have to go with Ben's shirt.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Come on. It's not the worst
The
Canadian
Ginla-
team you can go for.
Back in the
Come on.
Ginla era,
Oh,
those were
Yeah.
yeah.
fun.
oh
That's why
yeah.
I hate
remember,
Tampa Bay because of
I
2004. So, you know.
actually still have like a tiny baby Iginla jersey. Like, I mean, not baby, but I probably still fit it because I have the upper body of a ski jumper. But it's like for like probably a 12-year-old or like 10, 12-year-old.
Which I've got to
I don't know.
ask then, because like I know generally I've been to a few events here in New York. I was at a Rangers game and they had a couple of the silver medal winning hockey team, the women's team. Now that you're both bronze medalists, we're in the playoffs at the time of recording this. Can you like just sneak into Scotiabank Saddledome, just like, sup, bronze medal, put me up,
don't know.
playoff tickets?
I
should
hope
try
so.
that.
I want to try that.
I actually I was invited to a Vancouver Canucks game. So
Oh, that
I
doesn't
got
count. That's not real hockey.
Okay.
We're talking about real teams here. Come on.
So I got to go to a Vancouver game, but they were gonna try and see if we could get, or like we were talking about trying to get into a game here with some hardware.
Surely, like right now in the midst of the playoffs, like you're on board with that, Matt. Just get there, sneak in, just show like you don't need a ticket. You just show an Olympic medal. Oh yes, right this way to the box. You'll be sitting with a Ginla. You'll be there. Are you confident in the playoffs? I mean, at the time we're releasing this, so we've probably choked and been eliminated. But I mean, game 1 was good.
Yeah, game 1 was well.
Game 1 worked. Yep. How are the Leafs doing right now, Colin? Are you looking at the score?
The last time I recorded with you, you spoiled something and it was good. So you can spoil it for me if it's going
Do you want
well.
me to spoil? All right. Well, this is again. This makes no
Actually,
sense
I kinda
because
wanna
by
look
the
at it also.
we are
time this has
dating
been
this.
released, this is very dated. This is game 2 of round 1, and I can tell you that the Leafs. Woo! Sure, you want to know the score?
Oh no.
Is the curse back, Ben?
17 minutes to go in the third period. Leafs 1, Lightning 4. Ooh.
Oh, okay.
Jeez.
This is the last time you're allowed to read the score on the air, Ben.
Okay. Thanks for that. If you could be any superhero, who would you be?
Oof. I don't like never really been to superheroes, but probably Spider-Man seems pretty cool. I don't know.
Yeah, Tobey Maguire. That's the one, right?
No, the most recent one. What's his name?
Tom Holland.
Yeah.
Man, I thought
You
you
don't
were
even
cool
really know
before you
Robert.
said that.
You're calling
You
him
a
out for
Tobey
not
Maguire
being
fan or what?
How
Who isn't a Tobey Maguire fan?
He's your
Come on.
favorite Spider-Man if you don't know his name.
See, this is what I mean. I'm not that into superheroes, but I don't know.
At least you didn't
You
tell
got
like
the
Henry
Spider-Man
Cavill or
colours.
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, this kind of looks like it.
Yeah. Ali, did you want to change your answer on this? I don't remember what yours
No, I'm gonna
was.
stick with Superman.
Good. I should have kept it up because I have this on display usually. So
Oh, nice.
I love
I
Superman.
appreciate
have,
we've just got everything
original
show and tell
Superman
tonight.
comic book still
Yeah.
the-
oh, wonderful. Next one. My favorite music artist is.
Ooh, band from New York called Beach Fossils.
Beach fossils.
What's the genre?
It's kind of like indie rock.
Okay.
Every time I hear something I don't know, I add it to my list here, so it's on.
He
there
does.
now.
He
No, they're really
does.
good.
Okay.
Really good.
Do you agree with that, Ali? Are they really good?
I don't know.
Probably played it in the van one day or something, but
Okay. You'll have to. But
Do you go back into the memory bank? If you could only eat one food for the rest of your life, what would it be?
pizza, pretty easy.
Pizza. Okay. Did you get that one, Ali? Did we ask you that one?
Pizza. What?
Did we ask you that one?
I don't think we did.
You can answer
I'd
it.
probably,
Different question.
I'd probably say a chicken sandwich.
Ooh, force-fed to you by your boyfriend?
KFC.
Well, okay, no, that was just the KFC because they don't have McDonald's.
Is he in the
at
background
Like,
forcing you to answer this? Your
KFC
favorite food is a chicken sandwich.
Well,
Allie, have you been to the Popeyes yet in Calgary on 17?
I need to go. I always go to Cluck and Cleaver.
Cluck and
That's also
Cleaver.
good.
Ooh,
It's-
you don't have
it's
Chick-fil-A
like
in Canada, do you? Chick-fil-A is the
No.
best. Oh,
It is
I've
really
had it
good.
a few times here in New York. Damn
They're
Sundays
just
not
like
being open.
shamelessly plugging our favorite chicken restaurants in Calgary.
That only
And-
us two know. Like,
But if they're listening, they can be proud sponsors of Off the Podium because we would appreciate
true.
the support. Absolutely.
Yeah. Your favorite place to compete is?
Sapporo, Japan.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Potential 2030 Winter Olympic host as well. They're in the running as well. So if
That'd be-
Vancouver doesn't get it, Sapporo.
Yeah, either way, it's really, really nice.
Yeah, except for Salt Lake. We don't want to go back there, do we? Come on, Mormons. Ugh. Hello to all our Mormons listening. There's a...
Have you checked our demographic in Utah lately, Ben?
I don't know if we have the demographics of the religions listening. And Mormons are forgiving people. I saw the Book of Mormon. They're fine. They're good.
You're making yourself into a hole here. I'm just
Hey,
No comment.
it's a common thing on this show. You should know that. You listen. Come on.
We want to
Michaela
take the
Schifrin.
Sports Podcast Awards for the brief time we held the Sports Podcast Olympic
You know,
podcast.
I'm joking about you guys getting a silver medal. We're going to get disqualified from winning it.
Yeah, the Ben Curse returns.
It was a nice time being an award-winning podcast host. There is a drawing aspect, as we said. So if you both want to draw a picture of yourself at some point and send it in, we will. Actually, you can draw a picture of each other. I feel that would be more fun, wouldn't it? Like, Ali, you
okay.
drawing
So
Matt?
I'm gonna draw a picture of Matt, and he's gonna draw
Yeah.
one of me.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think that'd
So
be more fun.
We'll do.
Yeah.
I know which photos we should do. We should do the ones where we're on the podium holding our medals and we're right next to each other.
Aww.
Okay.
That
Wait, so
works.
we both draw ourselves. We draw.
No, we
two-
draw each other.
You
Draw each
draw.
other.
You draw Ali. She draws you. And Matt,
Okay.
I dare you to draw a chicken sandwich in her hand.
Okay. If you think I can draw a chicken sandwich, you're already asking too much.
Hey, if you can try. You know, I bet you didn't think you were coming away from the Olympics with a medal, so you never know until you try.
Yeah, listen, I'll try. I don't think you'll be able to tell it's a chicken sandwich, but
It's like a messed up medal.
I suppose I'll take the next one here. One thing I've always wanted to do is, you could also answer draw pictures of each other.
mm.
Well, I
Mm,
think last time I did this, I said I wanted to win an Olympic medal. So I think I
Forced
So
to
you're saying
change.
there's a 100% chance of this coming true. So Matt, think carefully.
Go to space.
Ooh, I would like to be, I don't know, very rich. I don't know. If we're talking about things that are going to come true, that would be pretty nice.
Olympic
Very good
medalist, you're
answer.
halfway there, I think. You
want
know,
to ski fly. That's what I want to do.
ski fly. When's that becoming an Olympic sport?
Probably not going to, just because it's quite difficult to build the facility because it's 2 times bigger than a normal large hill. So
I say do it for Vancouver 2030. Just if you're listening, Vancouver
Okay.
Organising Committee, I think it
I
will work.
agree.
well, Matt has actually ski flown, so
Yeah,
Is,
I'd like to point that out.
for like the last 3 years, 4 years, I think.
and in terms of when it comes to, we've talked about how ski jumping, you are basically Superman, you are flying. Is that just adding a whole extra element to it because you're going twice as far, aren't you? Like, or even further than that, aren't you?
Yeah. So, I mean, at the end of the day, it is the same sport. You have to still ski jump. You still have to fly. It's just, yeah, you're going considerably faster and you're flying considerably longer. And yeah, I think it just makes it really special because there's only a couple events per year. So like this year, I think I got maybe 8 total ski flying jumps. And,
Wow.
you have to wait a whole year. 8 total across 3 different venues.
Wow.
So like, it's a really special time when you're at the top of the hill and you get to do it. And of course, it's just incredibly fun. Also, like, flying for twice as far And then, also the adrenaline part. Like, it's a big part of our sport. I know, Ale, you can probably relate. Like, that feeling of, like, kind of being scared, not scared, but nervous, knowing you're in control. And then when you get to the bottom, that feeling of, like, wow, that was fun, amazing, exhilarating. Like, I think that's
this podcast.
Just going in the sport.
Like, that aspect where it's like, if I do this wrong, I could really hurt myself. But it's like, I don't know, the risk adds to the excitement because it heightens all your senses and increases the adrenaline. So it's like, when you come over to the top of the hill when you've had a good jump, it's just like you're flooded with adrenaline, and it's kind of like, it's almost relaxing, but at the same time, it's like all your muscles are contracting and, your head is relaxed, but your body's not.
Again, like this podcast.
Exactly.
The parallels there. And is there not female ski flying? Is that not a thing?
There's going to be female ski flying next winter, but it's only for the top 15 girls. So
first ever.
I want to do
wow,
that. First
okay.
time ever. That one girl, or like in the early 2000s, they had a few girls like test jump, but never a competition. So this will be the first time women get to competitively ski fly ever. So
wow.
That's
so
like
if you it's basically stick to the top 15 and you're in, basically. Wow. Mm-hmm. Gee, can you not just get on the jump anyway? Like, I know you want to compete, but can you just be like, bugger, I'm just going to do it?
We've made a lot of jokes about, I'll just dress up as a forerunner or, that sort of thing. But when it comes to ski flying, I feel like they're going to be a little bit more careful as to who they're letting jump because, it is a bigger hill and they don't want people to hurt themselves.
Okay. And remember, 300 grams, Ali, just remember that one as well. Matt, your favorite thing to do in the summer is?
Ski jump, come on.
Yeah, obviously ski jump. Close second is probably Calgary Stampede.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Good. Nice. Actually, just quickly, in the background there, you've got, is that a photo? Is that you ski jumping in that photo behind you?
This is actually a really cool photo. It's from, I think, 1960 or something like that, and that's Banff.
Wow. Oh, wow.
So down there on Mount Norquay.
Jeez. That's amazing. Yeah. Again, to our audio listeners, please check out our YouTube right now. This is the photo that we can be seen there. That's fantastic. Definitely, obviously not you ski jumping then, if it was in 1960.
This is coming off the 80-meter ski jump.
Wow. And do they still have any form of ski jump in Banff? I don't think they do they? Or
No, but...
Norquay is only a downhill ski hill now, so...
Right. Okay. There you go, Banff, if you're listening. I always like... Banff is one of my favorite names in the world because it just sounds like it should be in a superhero movie. It sounds like, the old Batman comics when they're like, pow, bam! Pow. Like, it just sounds like some sort of action that should be in a comic book.
Next one up. My favorite movie is?
Probably... I think I like Inglourious Bastards a lot.
Good choice.
Ooh. Quentin Tarantino.
Good choice. We can just see him do a ski jumping movie. I reckon there'd be lots of...
it was obviously actually Eddie the Eagle. So.
Oh, of course, because we all know all ski jumpers love.
Everybody loves Eddie the Eagle, right?
I think we might have talked about it on the podcast, but the first night when Tali and Dean were doing the curling, they literally on the great Channel 7, my favorite network, because I work for them. They showed Eddie the Eagle before following it up with the first day of the Winter Olympics. So that was Australia's contribution to the Winter Olympics. Your favorite place to visit in Canada is?
Vancouver.
I like the Okanagan, which is kind of close to Vancouver.
I've been to the Okanagan. Great place. Yep. I remember driving 4 hours between Vancouver and Kelowna. That was a fun trip.
I like how I just was like, yep, it's super close. And you're like, yeah, I drove 4 hours.
Oh, yeah. I'll just ruin the illusion for you. You're welcome. I've shat all over Vancouver. That was the Canucks, at least, so that matters. I like Vancouver. I just don't like the Canucks.
Yeah.
Colin, that's your point to ask the next question.
Did Matt answer that one?
Yeah, I said Vancouver.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I missed that.
Thanks for listening,
all right.
Colin. Jesus Christ. We're going to get our award taken away because you're not listening to our guests.
Because that's the worst thing that's ever happened on the show, yes? Your favorite cartoon to watch growing up was?
Ooh, growing up. Probably SpongeBob, honestly. That show's completely goated. It's it's timeless. It's masterpiece.
Is this where we ask you to sing the theme song for us?
No.
Ali's keen. Ali's keen. She wants to do it.
No. I want him to do it. I know it.
Karaoke time.
proving that it's timeless. My 5-year-old still is obsessed with SpongeBob. We can get him down here. He could do the theme song if you really want.
I think that you know how timeless it is when Avril Lavigne sang it for the first movie they did, like a Canadian icon singing SpongeBob. I mean, come on, that just comes together. I don't think we asked you that one, Ali. Did you have a cartoon you watched growing up?
I watched Phineas and Ferb.
I don't even know what that is.
It rings a bell, but it's a great title.
They had like a triangle head, right?
Yeah, it's like the two brothers who always build stuff, and then they've got a pet platypus that's a spy.
So they're Australian.
Oh yeah, Perry the Platypus.
Yeah.
Well, we have a James Bond podcast. Now you said spy. We're going to definitely add it to our list of a recap.
And as an Australian, I don't know whether to be offended or honoured that they had a pet platypus. So maybe a bit of both.
It's an honor.
Speaking of singing, now is the part where we all sing. No, if you had to do karaoke, Matt, what song would you sing?
So I actually have done karaoke several times. Usually I just pick like the dumbest possible song because I know I'm not good at singing. But if I pick something really dumb, then it's a joke and it's not like I'm trying to be serious. So I don't know. I think I rapped a Kanye song with my friend. I think I was Monster.
Go on right now. Come on.
No chance.
Cue up the music, Colin. We've got it ready to go.
The thing about karaoke is you're already like several drinks in, so it's easy. But,
well, Ali wouldn't know about that. She's underage, right? So you would have
I'm
never.
no longer underage. Thank you very much.
Well, you're in Alberta, it's 18.
Oh, it is, of course. Yeah. Right. Okay. I'm Australian. 18's legal for drinking, but I'm thinking Canada, you're weird, you're 19. And I'm in America where it's 21. So everyone just had the same age. Come on.
Every other province, it's 19 except for mine. So.
Yeah, suck it, Colin.
I'm legal.
Do you have a favorite karaoke song then?
Me?
Mm-hmm.
No, I cannot sing.
I love the shock reaction. Me?
I can barely talk. You think I can sing?
We really need to bring a singing element into the show, Colin, just to put it straight on the spot.
Hey, it's taken us, 6 years, and we've got people drawing now. I mean, by the next Olympics, we'll have people singing. Unless either of you want to draw a picture of your favorite animal, this will be the last question. If you could be an Olympian in any sport other than your own, which sport would you choose?
That's a good question.
I wouldn't even pick Nordic combined because I don't have the arm strength to cross country.
Everyone should pick Nordic combined.
Cross country skiing is the worst. Like, I'm saying this right now. I mean, we had to do that in school, and I would never want to do it again in my life.
Hello to all our cross country skiers if they're listening.
I think I would pick freestyle skiing.
Oh, great answer.
Yeah.
For a winter sport, I'd say freestyle or like something along those lines, like big air, something like that. And for summer, I think I'd say like long jump. I don't know if I'm actually tall enough for long jump though.
Well, you've got the flying part going. You can just work on the running.
Actually, if we're thinking about summer sports, then honestly, pole vault seems pretty cool.
Oh yeah, pole vault. I'm gonna change my answer.
That's probably the closest to the adrenaline rush that you're already experiencing on ski jumping.
I just love that answer. I never expect somebody to answer. Like, pole vault is... we've never had a pole vaulter on the show, but honestly, pole vault is just one of those sports. Why? Like, why would you do it? Like, it's just such an odd sport.
For my school's track meet, I was asked to be the pole vaulter, but I had to say no because I had knee surgery. Because the teacher that runs track came up to me. She's like, "No one will do this. Will you please do pole vault?" And I'm like, "I would definitely
literally
do
the
pole
slogan
vault.
of pole vault. No one will do this.
And everyone else was like, Because everyone else was like, no, I don't want to get hurt. And I was like, oh, I would, but I have knee surgery next week. So she's like,
There are
come
just
on,
seriously
oh, Walter.
so many Olympic sports where you've got to question why people, like, still to this day, I still question why people do moguls. Like, why would you want to ski over bumps? Sure. But like pole vault, seriously, is just this one sport that just baffles me. Like, long jump, sure. Okay. High jump, sure. Let's add a pole to it. And then like jump, like 6 meters? Okay.
That's
Ben
kind of
also
what I
doesn't
like
like
about
roller
our
coasters.
sport. I like how like simple of an idea our sport is. It's just strap on a pair of skis. How far can you go?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And there's,
It's
you know,
like-
the whole element of getting disqualified for 200 grams. Just
Yeah,
weird
but if
rules.
you
300
look
grams,
past
300
that,
I mean, like the rules are complicated because I think the sport is so simple.
that's true.
Yeah, it's, and like I think we talked a lot about this in Winter Olympics. There's no dud sports, and pretty much every sport though in the Winter Olympics can kill you except for curling. So, but I mean, having said that, curling probably could kill you if you lay down and have one of those stones hit towards your head. But
Yeah.
that's a different type of curling. That's when, like, you know, Matt and Ali have had a couple of drinks and they're doing karaoke. Let's drunkenly lay on a curling rink. Because I'm sure that's what you would do. Before we let you both go, Matt, we always give our guests a chance to plug social medias. Ali, you've already done it. You don't get a second chance. If people want to follow you, Matt, on social media, stay up to date with what you've got going on. Where can people follow you?
Sure. Yeah. Probably the best place is Instagram, and it's pretty simple. It's just at Matt Soukup, and I kind of use Twitter every now and then, and that's Matthew Soukup 97. I don't use TikTok like Ali, so
Oh. I was gonna update that, Ali. Like, again, I still haven't got TikTok, but should I be? Like, should we be following you on TikTok just to get excited now that you're an Olympic medalist?
She
Yeah.
voted for us, Ben. Now we owe it to
Oh,
her.
sorry,
You
yes.
gotta pay me. Yeah. Yeah.
We just get you on the show while we can, so you don't start charging us appearance fees. Now that you've got these, like, you know,
Okay.
medals around your neck and everything. Well, that's why we couldn't get Abby on. Abby was like, "Yes." I looked at how much she was charging for her to come on the show. I'm like, "Get stuffed, Abby. You're not that good. Come on." Like, once is enough. Just, you know, like the medal around the neck. Guys, it has been a lot of fun to be able to relive, obviously, everything from Beijing and learn about it. Just seriously, one of the best moments I think I've ever had doing this show was that night when that was happening. It was just such a fun time to be able to watch that and see you guys get that medal, and obviously the groundbreaking nature it was for the sport in Canada and everything else in between. So best of luck moving forward with everything. To you, Matt, thank you so much for your first time on the show. This has been a lot of fun for you to join us tonight.
Thank you for having me.
And Ali, yeah, I'm glad that tonight we didn't talk about your crutch. So we'll leave it at that.
Thank you for having me again.